Listen, we're gonna get right into this. We're gonna get right into this because this is interesting, and I am allowing myself to be the open book, right? Hello,
Yes.
everybody. Welcome to the Real on Parenting, aka the Real on Dating, the aka the Real on Dating while co-parenting,
Yes.
aka Child. Listen,
All
I
of it.
am Coach Kiana Shaw, and I got my
And our
co-host here.
yes, therapist Danielle. I'm stumbling over my
Yes.
words, but yes.
So listen, y'all know Danielle and I are friends in real life, right? Like we
If
got
you didn't know, yes. We got a bit of history, if you will.
right. And sometimes we don't talk for a while until we get ready to record a podcast. And at other times we talk often and we're always surprised because our conversations lead us to so many different levels here. And which is it's partially why we started the podcast, right? Because it was like we would be having these conversations and it's like people need to know this information. Like, let's
Right,
bring the
right,
world into the group
right.
chat. And
Right.
so
Like, do they know this? We should share this.
we
Yes.
should share this. And so we were talking about like just me getting into the dating scene after being single for 4.5 years, right? After a 4.5 year relationship, right? So I took off the same time. Actually, I did try to start the dating scene last year, but honey, there is diarrhea and COVID and piss in the dating pool. I was like, let me find some clean water, honey, because what in the world is going on out here?
I heard it wasn't okay, but that ain't my business, you know. So if you know what I mean, I'm married, so I've been focusing on my business. But you're
Right.
my friend, so I'll try to become
Help
more
me through it.
aware of the land of dating.
Absolutely. And it's not
So
easy. It's not easy. But Danielle had some real specific questions. Like, you can start with the first thing you asked me, which was, what was it? What was your first question? Because we
girl,
asked a couple of questions and then we just went on and pushed. We was
right,
like, let's just go on and jump on and press
right,
record
right.
here.
So I would ask this, just within dating, it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific person, but just
Mhm.
within dating in general, how did and I'm trying to make sure I don't say his name, but you're the person you co-parent with, the co-parenting
Okay.
parent, you know,
Right.
what did you experience any girl about say basically being a hater, you know, but let's translate, you know, let's decode that, you know, in regards to that level of just respect,
Got it.
him just being respectful. I don't want to say be welcoming because you don't have to welcome someone, but just being kind, being what's the other word? I can't do the other word, but just go with respect because that's
So
needed first.
what's funny is um my co-parent partner, right, I'll say it that way,
Hmm. Hmm.
actually put my ex-boyfriend on the radar because we were
Okay.
sitting in the front yard with Kayla and he lived next door, right? So
Okay.
Kayla's dad and I are sitting in the front yard, we're playing with Kayla, and that gentleman, I don't want to say his name. Can we can
Please
I
don't.
don't know.
No, just the
Right,
gentleman.
okay.
Hmm.
He walks up and he was going into his apartment. So at the time where we lived, if we stepped off of our front porch, we could look into his living room, right? And so,
Oh.
um, and so he was like, "How come you never talk?" Because he walked up, he was like, "Hey, how y'all doing?" And we was like, "Hey, we're good." Blah blah blah. Just nice to be. And we had interacted on a couple of different occasions, but it was never like for the purpose of dating because Kayla's dad and I had broke up. I was pregnant
Hmm.
when I met him, right? And so it was just like not Kayla's dad, when I met the other gentleman. I was already pregnant. And so he was just the neighbor that was super nice, real cool.
Hmm.
At one point, like there was a woman and some kids that was, coming over, then they
Coming
wasn't,
out,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So I just I wasn't checking for him. I don't think he was checking for me. He may have been, I don't know. Um,
Mm.
but Kayla's dad was like, "Why you never talk to him? Like he's a really nice guy." Now we're already broken up, so what I mean, we're just having casual conversation while
Hmm.
sitting out front with our daughter, trying to make sure that our relationship is healthy, right? Like we're not getting back together,
Right.
but we want to make sure our relationship is healthy. And so when he
Hmm.
said that, I was just like, I'm still trying to figure out what the heck, is going on with me. And then there's me
Right.
and you, and then there's
Right.
me, you and her, and then there's me and her, and you want to bring another
Right.
person into this? Like that's crazy. But then, like, I just would be noticing, like, he's nice. Like I'm just say hi more often, right? Because then I started
Mm-hmm.
going, he is kind of cute, right? And he was
Uh-huh.
just really nice, really respectful, had a relationship with my brother, had a relationship with my mom, like, because I just wasn't outside like that. So, when I
Mm-hmm.
would come in the house, I'm in the house. And my mom, my brother, my bonus dad all had relationships with him. And so um,
Okay.
when we started, like, there was a day I'm at my mom's and we're going to my aunt's. And so my bonus dad said, ask him if he want to go. And I was like, why would he want to go? Like, that don't make sense. And so he was like, just go ask me if you want to go. And I did. I was like, hey, we're going over my aunt's and we're in pajamas. Like, we're going in our pajamas because, like, it's it's Christmas pajama time, right?
Mm-hmm.
We watch Charlie Brown. Like, we all into, with Christmas movies, we exchange gifts. He said yes.
Oh,
And so while we were
okay.
there, now we had conversations over time, but it was nothing
Mm-hmm.
about dating. So he says yes. And we were like, well, we about to leave. He was like, all right, I got to change. And I was like, yeah, because everybody in pajamas. So he puts on
Pajamas.
some sweats and a t-shirt and
Okay.
he rolls out with us, right? It
Okay.
was so impromptu. So while we're there, my aunts are like getting to know him. They're laughing. They're reminiscing on the time, like we had a backyard party at my mom's house once, and my aunt, he was playing his music loud, and my aunt was like, "Tell him to bring the music over here because we want to hear
Mm-hmm.
the music too, and we got special requests, right?" Like he just in his house blasted his music, and they like, "Yeah, bring it over." Well, so they were happy to see him. I'm still just kind of like filling this out. Like, I
I'm
don't know
taking
that I
out.
want
Yeah.
anything, but okay, if you're going to interact with the family, this is a great
Right.
time. My daughter was with
Right.
her dad, so she wasn't there. And so that day, like, he was like, hey, I would love to like come over and watch a movie with you. And I was just like, mm. Well, that's better than him inviting me to his house because I wouldn't have been comfortable going there. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. And so we watched a couple of movies. We talked through most of the movie, right? And a couple of days later, the next day, he was just like, hey, what are you doing today? And I was like, well, I'm actually working on my vision board. And he had never seen one done. So I was like, you're welcome to come over. He comes over and he's like, oh, I see marriage is on the vision board. I was like, it absolutely is. It was a picture of Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, right? And they were being silly in the picture, but they were in their wedding clothes. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so like I date with the purpose of marriage. I was like, so like if that's something that you want, like, are you looking for marriage? Like what, and so we had a
Right.
real conversation. We
Okay.
decided a couple of weeks later that we would date exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we did. We did. And
Okay.
then so when Kayla's dad brought her home, I was like, hey, I want you to meet someone real quick, if that's okay. He was like, yeah. And I knocked on dude's door and I was like, hey, I would like for you to come out and meet Kayla's dad. So he did. And it was just respect right off the gate, right? It was like, because so
Nice.
here's the thing. I think that when there's conflict in that, then there's usually some dating, right? Or the back and forth
Mm-hmm.
between the
Right.
co-parents. And now like one of them is still hung up or jealous on this situation.
Right.
Well,
Right.
now mind you, Kayla's dad was already dating someone.
Okay.
What was he already dating? Yes, he was. He was because that was a situation, not because we were dipping back and forth, but just the way it came about and who she was
Mm-hmm.
to me, our relationship before, and it was just there was some dishonesty, and so
Okay.
I was just like, in my prayer time, God was like, "You will introduce him because this is what you asked of him. This is what you're going to give him,
Right.
whether or not you get it
Right.
yourself." And so
Mm-hmm.
I introduced them and they were cool. And moving forward, they had a really great relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like they were
Mm-hmm.
I won't say they were friends, but they were really cool to the point where at one point he was like, I love the way he loves you and my daughter. That meant something to me. That really did mean something to me for Kayla's dad to say that. He was like,
Nice.
I love the way he loves you and my daughter. And he was just like, I hope y'all, stay together, whatever. When we did break up, um, Kayla's dad was a little emotional. And I was like, well, y'all ain't got to break it. Like, if y'all want to keep y'all bromance, that's fine with me. Like, I just can't be with him no more. And it wasn't that he wasn't a great guy. It was that when we got together, we talked about, like, hey, so this is marriage for me. This is what it looks like. Like,
Right.
if we're not
Right.
feeling each other in a year, it's time to break up, because if you don't know you want to marry me in that time, like, then it's time to move on. But he was like, I do, I'm just not ready yet. I have some things I got to
Mhm.
do. So I was allowing him to move the goalposts in the time frame. Well, at a certain point, then it's like other factors came into play. Like, his mom was really ill. His mom came to live with him. His mom passed
Mhm.
away. So
Oh
there
my
were like
gosh.
all these
There are
different
things that are
things.
happening. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, it's not the time to press this issue, because there's some
Sure.
other things going on. And I wanted to observe, right? I wanted to see, like, how are you with your mom? How are you with, you know what I'm saying? Like, because sometimes
Right.
you find out that a dude is a mama's boy, and that can be an issue. You know what I mean?
It
Um,
can. It can.
not because he you don't want him to respect and love his mother, but it's like,
No.
does he stand up, like, is he a little boy with his mom? That's the mama's boy syndrome I'm talking about. um
Right.
and so watching
Right.
that
Right. Right. Right.
dynamic and understanding, and then when she passed away, I planned the service. I did everything. I had her body moved. I did all the things. Like, he checked out
Mhm.
and went to work, like, literally he went to work the next day.
Wow. Okay.
I
All
was handling
right.
the business. And so after that, everything settled. I tried to give it some time, and I was just like, it's it's been a while. We have some years in. We're not engaged. You're telling me you want to marry me, but I don't see your actions are not matching
Just
up.
showing. Yeah.
And so we had a conversation, and he was just like, telling me about the different things that he feels was stopping him from marrying me, none of which had
Mhm.
anything to do with me, mostly about what he was dealing with as an individual. And in that, I was just like, okay, so you don't feel like you're able to provide for me and
Adequate.
Kayla
Mhm.
adequately. So your solution is to just let me be out here fending for myself instead of us building together. What I discovered was building together was not his desire. He wanted to already come ready made. But we've been in this relationship for a long time. That doesn't work for me. So if you're a
Yeah.
great guy, but we don't want the same things, and I've
Mhm.
I've given a lot of time. So and I knew that there was a fine line between giving a man time and wasting my time. Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
now we have been able to maintain a very cordial friendship. We don't talk
Mhm.
every day or anything like that, because that would just be weird. But when we do
Right.
communicate, it's all love. It's nice. It's cool. But at the end of the day, like, we've been broke up for 4 years. We're just friends. Like, there is no going back
Yeah.
to that at
Yeah.
this point. And I won't say ever, but I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just one to
Mhm.
never say never. So
Yeah.
we'll it's
Well,
been dynamic.
that's refreshing to actually hear that, and also share that that can happen. That
Absolutely.
that there can be a healthy dynamic interactions, respectful, mutual, all the words, if you will,
Absolutely.
amongst co-parenting parents and their significant others.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of the experience is the latter, where it's always drama and they come in, for your jugular and they're choosing violence and all the things, if you will. But and not
I
to
don't
say
have
that
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 kind of
hasn't
energy.
happened, but unfortunately, a lot of people, that is what their experience is in regards to the co-parenting aspect,
Hmm.
whether it's both parents involved or just one, and then the other parent just trying to navigate it as best as they possibly can.
And it's not easy.
Um,
It's not always
yes,
easy. Because there's the
right.
other
And
side. Like, Kayla's dad has been, he had the long-term girlfriend. It's not always easy, right? Because I think
mhm,
sometimes, particularly, well, I won't say particularly with women, because I've seen this a lot with men. People tend to want to put their stake in the sand as the new person. Like, hey, I've been with this person for a while, and this is how it's going to be. And I've seen men say, I will whoop this boy, his daddy don't live here. Well, wait a minute now. Because you put your hands on my child, now everybody going to jail, or at least one
right.
person going to jail, at least one person going to the morgue. So either way, two people was out of the situation all of a sudden, right? So
Right, right.
so there can be a lot of different dynamics. My
Hmm.
goal, though, is to always put Kayla first,
Right.
and to make sure that any man who interacts with Kayla is introduced to her father, it got to have an understanding with her father, and that's an understanding that me as a woman. Look, my ex said the reason why I knew what the standard was because you said it up front. I don't remember saying anything up front, but he was like, "Yeah, you said like." You got to be able to get along because you and him always don't see eye to eye. And you didn't want somebody coming into a relationship just picking your side and being emotional. He was like, you were like,
Mm-hmm.
I need somebody that can stand in that middle ground and make sure that things stay cool. Well, I didn't mean to put that kind of responsibility on him, but I'm so grateful that he stepped up and took that
Yeah.
responsibility because
Mm-hmm.
like there were times, and he stayed out of it, but he did say like, hey, when we get married, there's no arguing with this dude. I need you to know that up front. When we get married,
Yeah.
there's no way my wife is going to be arguing with any man about
Man,
anything.
right.
And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
talk to me like a woman. Listen, like,
Right.
let it be known, sir.
Right, right. And with that, several things that you spoke of, and
Mhm.
I'm identifying them as such is limits and boundaries and
Mm,
timing. So you
yes.
shared that basically the place and space that you and your co-parenting partner was at is that the timing worked. With disregard what you shared of you, okay? The
Mhm.
timing was ideal, if you will. Um, Not to say everybody's situation, the timing will be that way.
Mhm.
Because sometimes we're human, and we're like, I want my dude, you know what I mean? So
Right.
things you have to really take in consideration is your child.
Yes.
Yes, we are human and yes, we have needs and all those things, but your child should be first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Um, and then the limits that were set along the way, and not because your boyfriend at the time had osmosis and could read your mind. No, they were clearly stated. Some people be like, he knew. How did he know? Did you tell him? Were you
Right.
very clear
Right.
on what you said? You over here
Right.
giving innuendos and he got the wrong message. Now you mad. So there has to be very clear on what the expectation is. What you're
Yes.
wanting, what's a go, what's a no go, so that everyone's on the same page and nobody's feelings is getting played with.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
those along with many other things, but those I feel are the basis of things that need to be there, that need to be present
Yeah, and then
within
that timing includes the healing, right? Because
yeah.
like it would have been bad timing if I'd have went from one relationship to the other, especially with the kid.
Right.
Now, he and I
Mm-hmm.
dated for 6 months before Kayla knew that he was my boyfriend. Her dad knew, but she did not know, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
was the difference. Like I need because this man, he's gonna take me out. We're going out during the week. I
Mm-hmm.
got Kayla during that time. I need her father to know who she's around. That's
Right,
important to
right,
me. But I also think
right.
that people are less likely to mess with your kids when they know that both parents are about that life.
That's very
So
true.
you gonna meet Kayla daddy
It's very
because
true.
he is
Not
serious
this one,
about
not
his
this
daughter in
child.
that sense. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
And
right.
so having and it's not about scaring the dude. It's about
No,
like
no,
let's
no.
set these boundaries because guess what? You
Eh,
also got to meet her uncles. She got a pawpaw
mhm,
and a grandpa,
mhm.
and you know what I'm saying? Like you will meet
Right,
the main characters in her story because they shape her. They shape her
right,
life. You understand what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
These are the people who validate her existence as a young girl and how they treat her,
Mhm.
how they open her door and all that. You're going to meet these people.
Right,
And in
right.
that, what it's a red flag to me. Like I've had just in the dating world, like men be like, well, what do you mean that you guys are cool? What do you mean that what do you mean what do I
Yeah,
mean?
that's a red flag. I'm
Like
gonna have to
it's a
get a
red
red
flag
flag.
to them that Kayla's dad and I communicate. Well, wait a minute. What do you like?
No,
Why would we not communicate? We have a child. She's not 18.
right,
She's 10. Why would we not be communicating
right.
when
But that's a red flag in the sense that
absolutely,
that needs to be addressed with you
absolutely.
and your significant other because they have some healing that they need to do.
Right, because
For
why would you want
mhm,
my daughter to be without her
mhm,
father just to make you uncomfortable? I would never would I
mhm.
allow that. You understand what I'm saying? Now, if he says, "Hey,
Right.
I'm walking out," I'm like, okay, then that's fine. That's something else for me to deal with. And then in that case, yeah, okay, so Kayla's dad and I don't have a relationship, but I would think that that would be a red flag for him.
You
Like
would think.
she can't talk to the father of her child without it escalating, and they can't have communication. We need to be able to get on the phone and have communication. Now, have we ever had personal communications that did not involve Kayla? Absolutely. Just because we're continuing our
Right,
relationship as
right,
individuals, right?
right,
We're
right,
not talking
right. It
about sleeping
isn't.
together. We're not talking about getting back
Right,
together. We're not
but
talking
it is an
about
ongoing relationship. It is an
right.
ongoing relationship. Whether you want it or not, that's what it is.
Yes,
And some other things that you spoke of in regards to just discretion, privacy and discretion. That Kayla's dad knew about him before Kayla even knew. And there are certain aspects, and that I'm pretty sure you haven't shared, nor you shouldn't, just for privacy reasons. But there's aspects where certain decisions were made related to doing or not doing
right.
just to ensure safety. Not that anybody was doing anything, but just as a parent, just making sure my child's okay. All the limits and boundaries and expectations are in place to where nobody gets the wrong message or thinks that
Absolutely.
the okey doke is okay over here. So that is something that's very important. But also within all of that, going back to that came from it being communicated.
Yes. And so communication is that key. And I know a lot of people are like, hey, he needs to meet your kid because your kid might be bad. She needs to meet your kid because your kid might be disrespectful. Yes, I agree. People should meet the children early on, but not in a this is mommy's boyfriend, this is daddy's girlfriend setting. I think it should be like, hey, we're going to Magic Mountain or Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm, and you come too, and then we'll just happen to be in line, and then we'll just talk to this stranger. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, get to know this person,
Well,
not
that's a
stranger
whole lot
danger.
to be said.
It takes coordination. It don't have to be at the amusement park. It could be at a regular park. You understand what
Right,
I'm saying? You
right.
bring
But
your
it is
kids,
outside
I'll
of the
bring my
home.
kid, and if we'll just have
Yes,
conversation and see how that goes, because your point is to interact and see how my
it's
child
to
is.
interact.
How am I
Correct.
interacting with my
Right.
child? When my child does
Hmm.
something that is not okay with me, am I cussing my child
Hmm.
out? Or am I redirecting her? Because how I handle my business is how I'm gonna handle your business. If I'm cussing my
Right.
child out, I probably will
Guess
cuss your
what?
child out. That's
Yes,
not
with the
gonna ever
cherry
be
on
okay.
top. Right, right. It don't make it okay, but yeah, because it's like not to be rude, but at the end of the day, that's not your child. So there's a different level of whatever, you know what I mean,
Right,
that can
right,
come in that moment.
right.
So
And it could
right,
be a
that.
family function. It could be, I don't know, we having a card game or domino game. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Well, then you come, but I'm not introducing you to my child as
Hmm.
mommy's boyfriend. I will let
Right,
certain key members of my family know, but everybody else is going to see
right,
you as my homeboy, my friend, or whatever. And then you get to
right.
interact and be around the family like that. But everything doesn't need to be an introduction as a significant other. And I think that that's something that people need to be mindful of
Hmm.
because it sets a precedent, right? Like, what if it doesn't work? Like, what if you like, you know what, your
Right.
family a little bit too wild for me. I don't like that they're drinking. I don't like, you know what I'm saying? It could be a lot of things. And then it's like, hey, I'm not coming back around. Well, in a year, if I have a new friend, now that's a new introduction. I don't like that. I don't like that. Like
Yeah,
when you meet
yeah.
people outside of my mom, my brothers, my dad, like my immediate family will know. Everybody else is like, oh, that's Kiana homeboy.
Right, 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 right. And that's very important
I love how
just for
you're
the
like
fact.
picking your words because we
Yeah,
are
I
live.
am because
Because
when
we
I
are
think
live.
when I think of the babies, and even though the children can be 15, they are impacted. They are
Absolutely.
truly impacted in the way that they can grow, the way that your co-parenting partner had was felt some type of way that your relationship with your significant other ended is the same way that your children will be
Yep.
emotionally impacted. And not to
Yep.
say that we can protect them from everything. We already know that. But what's being said is just that factor in regards to everybody you come across, even if you've been talking for 6 months, doesn't need or require an introduction with that title to your child.
Right.
The part that I
Right.
don't want you guys to have go over your head is that, however, he was introduced to the proper people,
Right. Because
the dad, your
I
mom,
that's a sign
brothers. You
of
know what I mean? Those
respect.
significant,
That
yeah, those keynote people in your life were informed and know who he is for a
absolutely.
reason.
Absolutely. And I felt that that was just the way to respect him as Kayla's dad. I didn't think that
Right.
we needed to, I didn't think I needed to hide him or anything like that. But this man is going to be around your child.
Around.
I
Yeah.
want
You
you
need to know.
to to interact with him. I want you to see because you may be able to see some things that I can't see as a man.
As a
You may
man,
be
I
like,
was
hey,
just
you
about to
know
say,
what?
as a man,
His
right?
spirit ain't right, right? And it's
Right.
not out of jealousy, you know what I'm saying? So and I wanted that respect as well. Like, hey,
Hmm.
let me just go ahead and point this out to you. Not like, hey, you got to break up with this person, but be mindful, be
Right.
watchful
Go.
of this right
Hmm.
here because my kid is there. And the minute they act, okay, okay.
And bring
The minute it's
bring it
necessary to
back.
tag you, that's what I'm gonna do.
Right. We know what that means. If you don't go ask somebody. But yeah,
With
so
a
let
smile
me
on my
ask you
face.
this. So let's say, have you ever been in a situation where you felt that you were at a place of, okay, I'm going to introduce him to Kayla? I mean, you're in it, giving a time frames of being single. I don't know. I'm just asking, you know,
So,
and
okay.
then you introduce and it's like, oh, it didn't, I thought I should have introduced and now here we are now.
So Kayla, because she's hearing names that she hadn't heard. And so she's just like, when do I get to meet that person? Right. Because I
Hmm.
try not to have conversations. Like if someone calls and we're in a car, I don't send it to voicemail. I'll pick it up. Hey, how you doing? I'm in the car. I have my daughter, and so that person might say hey or not say hey, they might be like,
Hmm. Right.
okay. But I end the conversation. I don't need to
Hmm.
have a conversation with someone who is
Of course.
courting me in front of my daughter. Not at that
Okay.
time. Not until I know it's serious. So I do have a friend that I knew years ago. So we're not like dating and trying to get to know each other. Like we're not doing that. But we're hanging out because we're both single, right? And it's
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
uh um we already know that it's not going into a relationship, but we also know
Hmm.
that we just enjoy hanging out. But there are certain
Right.
factors that prevent us from being in a relationship. That being
Hmm.
said, she's like, when do I get to meet him? Because I've been hearing this name for a while now.
Right.
Well, you can meet him because we're just friends. We're not
Hmm.
dating. So and she's like, all right, so and I'm like, well, okay, when we hang out, like you're usually at your dad's. So
Right.
I don't know when you're gonna meet him. Like, he
Right.
lives
Right.
50
Right.
miles
Right.
away from us. I don't think he
Right.
making the trip after work to come meet you
Right.
because we're not dating, right?
Right. 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 Right.
So with as I'm in this dating phase and getting to know people, I don't know that I want you to meet my daughter yet. Um, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. We're not in a space where you would meet her as mommy's boyfriend because you're not my boyfriend. I am still
Right.
dating. I'm not exclusive with anyone.
Invited.
When I
Got
start
you.
going, okay, you are who I want to be exclusive with. Let's move this to the next level and do some introductions, and then we'll make it final. But again, the introductions are not as mommy's boyfriend. The introduction is just, hey, nice man, like.
Nice man.
Hey, nice man at grandma's house for the card party. Like,
That is too funny. Too funny. So what's I don't want to say what's interesting, but what you do find, I can't say what Kayla's response was to now since your ex, but and you probably know this as well, where people have experience where the child doesn't like the parent significant other,
mhm.
and do everything, if you will, to their thought process they can think of as a way of, making them break up. um, have you had, and I know Kayla is not going to do this whatsoever, but
Okay.
has she ever had, or even if it was introduced as a friend, it's not an it, he was
Yeah.
introduced as a friend, has she ever had any thoughts where she's like, no, I don't care for this person or
She went through
don't
that
like
phase with my
him?
ex. We had been
Oh,
together for
okay.
probably 2 years. Well, no. Mm. So here's the thing. So she went through this phase where she was just like, I don't want to go over there. I don't want him to come over here. Like, you know what I mean? She was being very selfish with me. Not selfish. That's the wrong word. But she was like, my time is my time, and I'm
Okay.
reclaiming
Okay.
it, right?
Okay. Okay.
um, and he was like, I don't know what's going on, but your baby don't like me no more. And so me having a conversation with Kayla, like, did something happen? Was there an issue? We had that conversation. That being said, there was also the factor where she would just be like, it was more so like she still wanted to play with him. You know what I'm saying? So she was just like,
So
I
she
don't
was
want you to play with
conflicted.
mommy. I don't want you to play with
Right.
mommy, but can you come outside and play kickball with me?
With me, right.
I like
He didn't want
here.
to share you.
I don't want you to go out with mommy to dinner, but I want some shrimp. Can you take me for some shrimp and mommy come too? Because she ain't gonna let me go by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like that.
Right.
Uh,
Okay. And that makes sense. I would always say in regards to like just child development, there's a part of
right.
she had to share you. And that's a whole nother
Yes.
transition and adjustment in
Yes.
itself,
And
you
it would
know.
be moments where like, she would be like, I don't want to go over there. But then the minute he'd be like, okay, well, I'll leave you alone. Then she's like, wait a minute. Like, you know what I'm saying? She
All
like,
right.
but I want you to race. And so I had to let them develop their relationship and, and
Mm-hmm.
communicating to her father, like, hey, just if she says anything, can you just let me know? Because I want to know what's going on. I'm asking her questions and she's not responding. Or at least not giving me details. And so that became something that we had to work through. It wasn't
Okay.
intrusive though. You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
understood
yeah.
that this was part of her development. He understood that it was part
Right.
of her development, right?
Good, good.
Um,
Yeah.
and I know every situation is not like that. I know that it's not that
Right.
easy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Our
Hence the reason why
situation
I'm
just
like
happened
asking
to
such,
be.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
think
Hence the
in
reason why,
communicating constantly, between
right.
Kayla's dad, between me and my ex significant other, like we had to keep the communication lines open, which is why I was really happy that they could talk, right? And
Hmm,
granted, a
hmm,
lot of their talking was sports. It was sports,
hmm.
or my ex would like get on Kayla's nerves by getting in her dad's car, and she would just be like, "Get off the-" so he would do things to irritate her in that sense.
Right, right.
And her dad and I laughed because we understood like what this was, and so it just
Hmm,
was what it was.
hmm,
If we go to drop her off or pick her up or take her something, like we go together and they would sit and they would talk, and it's fine. You know what I mean? I
hmm.
think that a
Yeah,
lot of people have this mindset of, you know, y'all together, they're together, they don't need to be any communication, but there does. Like I need to know
there
that,
has to be. Yes.
right? Because especially if we're looking at being a family. Because when
Right,
he commits to
right.
me, if we get married, he is now the head of my household. I need to know that y'all can get along. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like if he's gonna be head of the household and your daughter is in the household,
Right.
I need y'all to be able to have a communication on what these new rules are. What does this look like? What does discipline look like? Let's have this
Right.
conversation, the three of us or the four, because her
Hmm,
dad is seeing someone, right? So it's like, let's
hmm,
have this communication about what is okay, what's not.
hmm.
I know for both of us, you put your hands on our child, like we because once she's not a kid that needs that level of discipline
Exactly.
or
Right.
punishment. Kayla can take discipline and we're good. As she's getting
Right.
older, I'm noticing that discipline looks different. But we
As
got
it
to be able to
should.
communicate on that because what you're not gonna
Yeah.
do is put your hands on my
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah. Yeah.
you or him or his girlfriend. Like, yeah, we put your hands on my kid and everything changes
Yeah.
immediately.
Quickly. Quickly.
Yes, yes, and violently.
It is what it is. So, but and my thing I tell people ain't nothing up there. I'm just thinking. But um the words ain't up there either. They just I just feel that they up there. I just catch them. But we are aware that everybody's situation and just dynamics of the relationship, their co-parenting relationship,
Right.
um, even and let's be honest, it can even be you, you know,
Mhm.
that it's not necessarily that easy,
Yes.
but we are here to share that it can happen because it takes work. I'm
Yes.
I'm a bonus mom, before becoming a wife. I was a
Right.
significant other, and there was aspects of what was me staying in my lane but
Mm.
also there was aspects of understanding and knowing the role that I played in regards
Right,
to just physically being in a relationship with my husband now, with my 3 to 4, because I say kids, they say they're not kids no more, adult children, and but what that entailed in regards to my communications, my interactions with their mom.
right.
And at that time, my husband with their mom's boyfriend,
Hmm.
I would still say they had an interaction that I still can't wrap my head around. It wasn't bad or anything, but they talked like they was homies. It was just very, very interesting. I had to take notes. I'm a note taker because I'm like, I have to understand that one. I still don't though. However, he's an ex
But
now.
that's what
But
we
anyways,
want. Like, I
no, but it
listen,
was a very good thing. It was a great
right.
thing. And for the kids to feel, you can see that they were just very comfortable. That there wasn't any tension. There wasn't any, let me act this way now because we're with this people. We got to act this way now because we're over here now. No, it was just a very, very smooth transitions. Was this always the case up front? No. It took work
I was
on the
just gonna
behalf of
ask that. Like,
all
did you guys
adults.
ever have like, that friction where it was like, man, look.
Oh, there was friction. There was friction in different capacities.
Hmm.
Not, I would say not because of me. One, I don't do argument. Okay, I set my expectations and I leave it the hell alone. Okay, but anyways, but
Facts.
but then there was just parenting stuff. There were things, there were individual things
Hmm.
that came up, and those things, and as I'm sharing of different advice and suggestions and all those things, I know that it's not that simple. Like, oh, I need to do this and it's done. No, no, no. It's an ongoing thing. But here we are now. What, fast forward 20 plus years? You know what I mean? So it is
Right.
different. The work has been put in. Okay.
You
Um.
know what my lawyer said to me while we were going through court stuff? She said, even if you were married, you would have difference of opinions, and these types of things would have to work out. You would have to work this out amongst you. So don't be so quick
Regardless.
to be
Yes.
like, nah, forget that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
She
I'm
was like,
done.
both of you have
Yeah.
to understand that court is not first response, it's the last, because even the judge is gonna be like, so y'all couldn't talk this out. Yeah,
Right.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I get it. Sometimes we can't come to agreement. So then the state of California gotta come, or whatever state that they in, gotta come
And
to an
right.
agreement for us.
Mm-hmm.
However, wherever we can go, let's be friendly. My ideal situation is we spend Christmas and Thanksgiving and like we do all that together. I understand when
Right.
people say we are having Christmas together, or that we're gonna go open presents together. If all is well, and me and her get along and he get along, we should be able
Right.
to do that together, because that is what's in the best interest for my child. But
Of
I
the
see things,
child,
I've
right.
seen people respond with things like, well, if that's where you want to be, go be there. Wait a minute, how immature can you be?
Yes, and
So
that
the child
that
can't have
you need
Christmas
to
with
go
both
heal.
parents because you're jealous?
Right,
No,
that
honey, bring your kids. Let's all, if
right.
everything is good, I'm gonna buy Christmas stuff for your kids
For,
anyway. Just like I buy
exactly.
stuff for Kayla's friends at
Exactly.
school. They
Exactly.
honey, what is it? Valentine's Day, everybody get a gift in the classroom.
Hmm.
The whole class get a
Right,
gift, including
right,
all the teachers.
right.
So
Hmm.
let's just be mature and think of it in that sense. Like, why do I have to say, well, that ain't my kid. If
Hmm.
they're spending time with my child, and I will get you a gift, lady. But don't play with me though. Like, let's be mindful.
Yes,
You know what
yeah,
I'm
don't
saying?
cross
Because
the line. Yes,
right.
correct. Correct and correct.
And
And
the
you're gonna
same
see
way
real
I'm
quick.
making sure that Kayla gets a gift for her dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I,
Hmm.
I do all the things because one, I don't match energy. Why should I not be solid? Because you're not. Honey, you're
Right,
not finna mess up my witness. You're not finna have, you know what I'm saying, me going to God
right.
begging for forgiveness over some silly. No. And I
Yes.
wasn't always there, but I always had friends
It's
like you, like Janita, like that'd be like, girl, that's dumb. Pull it together. You gonna miss
yes.
heaven trying to prove,
Right.
and I'm
Trying to
grateful for
prove a
that.
point.
Your
Right.
circle is
Right.
going to play a huge role in how you
Yes.
respond. If you got people going,
Right.
no, with all that
Mm-hmm.
negativity, that you need a new circle. You need people that say, wait a minute, how does this impact your child? Let's
Yes.
do the pros and cons.
Right,
And
right,
so I
right.
find myself, because Caleb's dad and I don't get along all the time. We don't agree on everything all
Hmm.
the time. But I find
Right,
myself going, let me think about Caleb. What is the best response? And that's my default. I don't even have to think about it anymore. What's my default?
right.
Now there
And
has
that's
been a
right.
challenge where it's like I am no longer trying to be the bigger person, because I can only put on my big girl panties so many times before the elastic snap and I show my ass. So that being said,
At least you know your limits.
I
And
once
I
it
think that's
snapped
another show.
though,
But was it?
once once it snapped.
No,
Okay, I can't say all
but
that out loud.
right, yeah. Just so as I segue back
For those of you who were
to the
just hearing me
show,
talk about God, please
to the
know that
show.
my Christian walk and my thug nature, they be what Paul say, caught between the upward pull of right and the downward pull of wrong. Listen, it's a real thing.
But just know that, just know, here I am trying to pull it back together. But no, but just know that it can happen, but it's
Mm-hmm.
work. And then the
A lot of work.
question that you need to ask yourself is my child worth the work?
Yes. And the answer is yes. Every day.
Right, right. And you know what those triggers are for you. You know your situation. Let's just call it what it is. And you know what needs to be done within
Right.
your every action decision. It needs to be, is this in the best interest of my child? Yes or no? Ain't no explanation, ain't no summary, ain't no thesis, it ain't no parent. No, yes or no. Not what you want it to be. No. You know your child, yes or no. And go from that and go from there. Go from there. That's simple. Yes and no's
And
are simple.
and with
The action
all that,
afterwards.
right? Like in the yes and no's, and in the simplicity of it all, can we just be good people? Can we
Yeah.
just be good people?
Hmm.
Can we just be good people, as we're dating, as you know, as we're maneuvering, as we're bringing people into our children's lives, as we are accepting people into our own lives? Can we just be good people? That's the aspect. That's that.
Yes, that's simple.
Look
Give
like
us
your
a,
phone glitched. It's
oh
like
my bad.
something glitched.
All right.
It's all good.
Okay.
All right,
I think
so
that was an
that's the
earful.
real on parenting. That like
Yeah, I think that was an
as we
earful in itself.
right. I'm always down for answering questions. I love how respectful you were. You were you treaded every
I'm always
line,
gonna be
and I
respectful.
told you I was an open book. So
I know, but
but
I'm
I
always gonna be
appreciate it.
respectful
I
because
do.
I
I
am one
appreciate
about
it.
people's privacy. So, and you know,
Yes.
people like they listen, like mind your
Listen.
business, okay?
But I share because I think it's helpful.
I know you do.
But I also share from a place of healing, right? I'm not in the middle
Yes,
going,
that's very true.
yeah, this
Yeah,
month,
I wouldn't
like
ask
I'm
you
not.
none of them questions if that was the case. I probably wouldn't be on the show with you if it was. I'm just speaking honestly because you know my limits. I don't do that. So, anyways, so I love you dearly though.
And I
She
love you
is
too. I
healed, by the
appreciate
way.
you. Listen, right, okay? Because we couldn't have done this 8 years ago. Like
No.
I wasn't on this side of the healing.
Well, girl, we both was in there. I wouldn't be therapist Danielle. We was both living life, okay?
Yes.
All
All
right.
right. So that's it for
Okay.
this episode
Yeah,
of the
that's
Real
it for
on
this episode.
Parenting. You good? You got all your questions
Yes.
answered?
No, that's it. I think that was just enough to make some people's hair stand up on their arms and be like, oh, that's such and such because it's never them, you know. So I think that's enough for today.
All right. All right.
All right.
See you guys
See
soon.
you
Talk to
later.
you later. Thank you for joining us on the Real on Parenting.
Yes.